Recruiting story time. We love when we get the athletes on and we save these questions for a one-off episode. We usually do it once, sometimes twice a year, getting the origin story of so many of the athletes of today. Brock Purdy, a 3-star recruit coming out of high school, played his college ball at Iowa State, and now, after a guy we were like, he's going to be the starting quarterback in San Francisco, just signed a 5-year deal. Before we let you go, I always like going back to the high school days and getting these recruiting stories from you. So let's go back to Gilbert, Arizona, and you thinking back to probably the best recruiting story that you have from that time.
Man, I think, I got offered. I got a preferred walk-on to Alabama, and then they ended up extending it as an offer. And so I took an official visit there. And, we walk in to have our meeting with Saban, and, he has the button that he presses, the door opens and it closes. And then you walk in and you sit down, and he sort of just gave me like a run of, what he thinks of me as a player and where I'd fit in with their program and stuff. And so basically it was just funny because, I don't know, you walk in, you see his hat that he wears at practice up by his desk and everything. And then I'm like, man, dude, we're in Saban's office. He's got all his rings opened up on the table, all the national championships. And then he just runs through a list of like how, like who I am as a quarterback and my accuracy and all this kind of stuff. I mean, you probably heard the stories of how he said I was sort of average in all those areas, but if you come here, you could help us win a national championship. And I'm like, all right. So I didn't really know how I felt about the meeting, but more than anything other.
Did you not believe him? Did you not believe him when he said that to you?
No, when he's saying all that stuff, I'm like, dude, what? Like my highlights and everything in high school, I think they're pretty good. I thought I was accurate and making plays, and like, how'd you not see that? But obviously he's been recruiting and evaluating players for his whole life. So, he knows something and he's good at it. So, but anyways, as a kid or like a high school kid, I was like, all right, man, that's just adds a little bit more to the fuel, even though it's Nick Saban saying that kind of stuff. But I respect him, what he's done as a coach and everything. But it's just funny for me and my story that I sat down in his office and he told me his evaluation of me. And then I ended up going to Iowa State and all that. And it worked out how I needed to. So I'm not mad about it, but it's just a funny story. So
did you have to tell him, no, hey, I'm not coming here actually?
No, I didn't say that. I spoke to, I think the guy that was recruiting me was the special teams coach. So I had to tell him, I'm like, yeah, thank you, but I'm not coming here. So, it's all good. It ended how it needed to. And I'm glad that I went to Iowa State. So here we are.
Norm Powell running around for the Clippers, recently just traded to the Miami Heat, but he knew LA well because he played his college ball at UCLA. We caught up with Norman Powell and asked him about his best recruiting story from that time.
I think the funniest one, I don't know how funny it is, but to me it was, so San Diego State was my first a full scholarship offer, and then USD was my second. And so when they first offered it, I wasn't getting majorly recruited. It was literally just like the San Diego colleges and maybe a little bit of the Wargons in LA. I wasn't that big of a recruit until after my junior year. But I took my San Diego State visit, was fine, and I took my USD visit. And I'm talking to the coach, and he has me outside. We're overlooking San Diego. And the one thing he said was like, yeah, I know you're probably not going to go here, but just know, whatever happens, like you'll always have, as long as I'm the head coach here, like you'll always have a scholarship here. But I know you're not going to go here. I think that was like, for me, like one of the funniest things. I didn't know what to say. I was like, yeah, you're probably right, but I'll keep that in the back burner of my mind. But I took the visit because my family wanted me to go there, but it was just, I couldn't stay in San Diego in general. But that was probably one of like the funniest moments for me recruiting. And then I don't know how PG it is. I think my second one was being off. No, I can't say that. No, it's crazy.
It's got it. We're very PG-13 on this pod, so go for it.
It's just one of the coaches that was gonna like, oh, if you come here, like you'd be the man. Like you even date my daughter and stuff like that. It was crazy, We won't say who. We won't put a name to that. But even that at 18 was kind of crazy.
Yeah, we don't need to put a name to that one. Maybe he just loved your personality, Norm. He just
Maybe, who knows?
wanted you around long term, or maybe he saw the potential. Matt Barkley was the 2007 Gatorade National Player of the Year and a highly coveted recruit. How did he get to USC? Let's go back to you, high school, Mater Day, top recruit. We know you ended up at SC, but what's your best recruiting story from that time period of your life?
Well, my recruiting story journey was pretty simple, actually, especially in comparison with what today kids are doing, shopping themselves around and taking the highest bid. And I knew from my sophomore year in high school that I was going to SC, and I silently committed to Pete Carroll then. And so I didn't even take another official visit to any other school.
So maybe that's the story then. Like, give me. I've met Pete enough. Like, what did Pete? How did that go?
I'll tell you that. But I did take. There was a Nike camp up at Stanford, so I went up there, met with Harbaugh, who was there at the time. Loved him, but Andrew Luck had committed, and he was a class ahead of me. So I'm like, all right, I'm not going to be playing at Stanford if Luck's there. But I met with Jeff Tedford, who was at Cal at the time, who I really respected, really thought was a bright play caller, a great offensive mind, great coach. Met with him. His office was in the stadium, kind of overlooked everything. But you looked out his window, it was in Berkeley at Cal, and you saw in the trees outside of his office, the tree people. That is 100% a real thing. That was not just some like overblown story. There were people living in like hammocks in the trees, like full on like mini little villages in the trees with like pee bottles hanging down from like they stayed up there. And I was like, all right, maybe Cal's not the best place for me. Sorry, Coach Tedford. That was a quick no for me, but still loved him as a coach. But Pete, I mean, he would come down just being local. He would come down to Mater Day's practices and watch us in the off season. So I kind of got to know him pretty well in high school and doing the camps up on campus, the showcases or whatever. But he just had a different aura to him, which we even saw in the league when he was with Seattle as the oldest coach in the league. Still seemed like one of the most vibrant, youngest coaches, just bouncing around, playing catch, hoot and holler, and that like he's so unique in that regard. And so again, like not really any crazy stories. Loved my recruiting season of life, but at the end of the day, I knew I wanted to be a Trojan and just made it simple, made it that.
Andrew Whitworth, a Super Bowl champion with the Rams and a legend at LSU. His decision on where to go coming out of high school. But let's go back to an Andrew Whitworth out of Fun Row. All right.
Fun Row, Monroe, baby.
You're getting the letters. You're getting recruited. Give me your best recruiting story.
Well, obviously, I was Nick Saban's first recruiting class at LSU. So I've got some epic, as I always say, I had Nick Saban unfiltered back in the day. So I've got some epic Saban stories, but I don't think any of those can go public. But I'll say this. My epic recruiting trip story is I get invited. This is back when it was real football, right? So I get invited up to, these kids would pass out if they even heard this existed anymore. I get invited up to Arkansas, Houston Nuts there. At that time, I was a tight end in high school. I was a big tight end. And so I wanted to go to Florida or Arkansas. They had huge tight ends. I mean, Florida.
Didn't want to play O-line.
No. I thought I was going to, I committed early to Florida. I wanted to go play for Spurrier. And that was right after they won the 96 national championship. And I was like, I wanted to be a Gator. I had Danny Werfel jerseys, you name it, Fred Taylor. So I wanted to be a Gator. So I go up to Arkansas. I get invited to come to a padded 2-day recruiting trip. Like you're hitting people. Like I know recruits, you're like, what? Yes. So I get invited up this invite only padded recruiting trip to Arkansas, meet Houston Nut, hang out, have a great time. And even more illegal, probably. They're like, hey, there's actually two of you guys we kind of want to see go each other a little bit. Could you and this other guy come to the field, wear y'all's pads, and we kind of want to just do a couple of drills with just you two? And I'm like, all right, cool. So get out on the field. Well, the other guy was a guy named Sean Andrews, who was a really special football player at the University of Arkansas, and then ended up being a draft pick for the Eagles, getting paid a ton of money. He had some injuries, he hurt his career, but he was a freak of nature. I never forget when I was at LSU, Marcus Spears always had a neck brace on the week after we played Jason Peters and Sean Andrews, because that was a lot of big fellas that could move, physical week for him. But so Sean Andrews and I get down, and they're like, all right, at that time I played tight end, defensive end, and they were wanting me to play offensive line in my senior year, but I wanted to stay at tight end. So Sean Andrews is an O-lineman, obviously huge human, massive. Guy had to be almost 400 pounds in high school. And we get down and we're doing drills. I'm the defensive end. I am whipping this dude. I'm jumping, I'm beating him every snap. These coaches are going crazy, like, holy crap. So now they're like all over me. Well, Sean didn't have anybody at the camp. I went to West Monroe High School. We recruited 24/7. Okay. There's a reason we went 58-2 and won 3 state championships. It's because my senior year, half the team didn't even go to school there before my junior year. So we're like, hey, Sean, the coaches were with me. They're like, hey, let's take Sean home. All right. Yeah, that's fine. So Sean's riding in the van with us and my guilt starts hitting me. And I'm like, you know what? I got to tell this dude the truth. So I'm like, hey, Sean, man, hey, listen, like, I know I was whipping you, but I got to be honest with you. So the way the sun was hitting, I could see through the shadows which way the coach was telling you to block me every time, and I could see the snap count. So I am just killing this guy. He's like depressed the whole ride home, and I tell him this story, and I mean, we've had a great bond ever since, dude, because it was like, man, I couldn't take it. Like, I know I got you, but I got to tell you the truth. Like, dude, I knew exactly what was happening every play. So it was good for me. That was good for you. But hey, it worked out for everybody. Both had great careers. No harm, no foul.
That is one of the best and most unique, because we haven't heard one like that before. But I have to press a little on the Saban thing. Okay,
all right, yeah,
because he gets you there. Give me the one that you think maybe you haven't shared, but look, we're an adult podcast too, so let's not be. He's done now anyway, so you don't have to worry about the recruiting part of it.
Yeah, no, with Nick, it was more the intensity and the things where you realize, like, this dude, it's not just for you, because I think sometimes when you're a young player, especially like a freshman in college, you think, oh, the coaches hate me. That's why he's always screaming at me. He's just trying to be mean to me. And then you'd have these moments where you realize, like, oh, he does that to everybody. And so I'll never forget me and Benny Brazil. We'd finished our freshman year at LSU. Benny and I obviously had a great time. We both got drafted to Cincinnati together. Ended up being the best man at my wedding, like lifelong friends. But I'll never forget, we're both freshmen. And we're waiting for Nick would do at the end of the year, every guy would have a sit down with him in his office. And if people don't know, Nick Saban is a sports psychology freak. Like, everything he does is thought of, prepared. So you're in his office. It's a big, nice chair he's sitting in. You're sitting in a little tiny chair. He's templing you the whole time, all of that, right? Everything's thought through. So we're sitting there in his office and we're both nervous, like, man, about this meeting. What's it going to be like to have to sit with Nick one-on-one? We've seen him like light people up and all this stuff. And we hear him going crazy on somebody. And we're like, man, he is wow. Like, we got to follow this. Like, this is the mood I got to follow. He opens this door. And when I tell you, Skip Bertman walks out of that office, and I'm like, wow, that's the AD who won like 100 national championships as the baseball coach at LSU. And Skip just looked head down, like tears, like he looked so sad. And I was like, oh my God. So Benny and I start, paper, rock, scissors, or who's going next? Because it's like, at that point, you're like, wow, this dude will let anybody have it if he's letting Skip Bertman have it. And I will never forget that ever, because as a freshman in college, you're like, that's like watching your dad yell at your mom or your mom yell at your dad. You're like, oh my gosh, like, I have no chance. But Nick was intense all the time, man. And that's really, honestly, it's something I took from him, is his sense of urgency, his intensity, that when you want to be your best, there's a standard to everything. And I can't remember, but I think we had booked a game, like one of those games against some opponent that like Nick didn't want to do. And anyway, so it fell through. But I think that's what it was about. But I'll never forget that moment, seeing Skip Bertman walk out of that office.
Ty Jerome, you know him now as the breakout Cavs player who just signed with the Grizzlies this offseason. But before that, he was a national championship winner at Virginia after bouncing back from that UMBC loss. But let's go back to what led him down to Virginia in the first place. Let's go back to Iona Prep. You're a 4-star. When I'm looking at the rankings here, you're kind of in that 40 to 50 range as a high school player overall. So that's pretty big boy stuff there. Give us your best recruiting story from that time in your life.
I'd say the funniest recruiting story that comes off the top of my mind. It's not that crazy, but it was right before my junior year, and I was driving up. I was visiting GW, and then right from George Washington, I was going to drive to Virginia, and Virginia was the first high major to offer me. Tony's there, and the whole staff is there. So I'm at GW, and I love it. I love the staff. It's in DC. A lot of good things, cool things about it. It's in the A10, and I'm like telling them, yeah, like I love it. And they're like, all right, just promise me one thing. Like when you go to UVA, you won't commit right away. Like you'll take it all in. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to commit for like another few months, a year, like at least. Like my junior year didn't even start yet. I go to UVA 2 days later, I commit. I call them. I'm like, sorry guys, like I just love it here. I gotta go. So yeah, it's like, sorry, I really wasn't planning on it, but when I took the visit, it was like a no-brainer.
Did you ever waver from that, even though it's that early in your life?
I had doubts. They had a tournament in New York, and I went to watch. I think it was like 40 to 32 at the end of the game. And I'm sitting there like, Jesus, I don't fit here at all. Like it's all about defense. We don't shoot. I don't fit here at all. Like I can't come here. And then after a while, it was just like, I think people make the mistake of going to a school. You got to go to a school where you really get along with the coach, because the style can be one thing, but when you really trust that coach, he's going to be sure you see your full potential. And that's what made me hold strong.
Jesse Palmer, high school ball in Canada, ends up down in Gainesville. It was probably just Gainesville, but it was also Spurrier, his time being recruited. Okay, let's go back to a young gunslinger north of the border. You're putting up big numbers. Were you playing for your dad? Was Dollar Bill your coach?
Yeah, Dollar Bill was dialing him up. he was dialing him up at Minto Field, Nepean, Ontario.
Okay, so you're starting to get calls. Our boy Jesse, there's some interest down south to get him down there to play college ball. What's your best recruiting story from that time? It was probably
the first. It was actually surprisingly not Steve Spurrier, which is probably surprising to a lot of people. You can only imagine what everybody's listened to his press conferences, and you can just imagine. I think the most memorable recruiting story was my first phone call that I got. I'll never forget it. It was like August 15th. It was like the first day coaches were allowed to call you. In the morning, I get a phone call, and I had this little terrible, like little red and black phone with like a cord. It was just brutal. And I pick it up, and it's Nick Saban at Michigan State. And he comes on the phone, and I'm super excited, so amped. I just can't wait to get into it. I have so many questions I want to ask. Like I'm just out of my realm as a Canadian kid. This is like the dream. And he gets on the phone, and he literally talks for like 8 minutes and 47 seconds, completely monotone the entire time, and it was like he wasn't breathing. He literally gets on the phone. He's like, we really think at Michigan State, this is a great opportunity for you on the field. It's a pro style offense. And we'll give you an opportunity to throw the football downfield vertically and really show off some of your passing ability and really highlight that here. The Big Ten's an outstanding conference with great competition. You'll play good defense. NFL evaluators are here each and every week. Lots of friends in the NFL right now that can help figure it out for you once you get done here too. Also academically, Michigan State, fantastic. You can get a degree that you need. It'll help you at the next level. East Lansing, very safe place to live. We get you great housing here as well. And it was literally like 8 minutes and 47 seconds. The pitch was unbelievable, but it was so much volume. I just couldn't, I don't even know what he said. And that was it. Little and imagine like if you had said to me like, by the way, dude, that guy's going to win 7 natties. Just so you know, the guy that you just spoke to, that's 7 natties. I would have been like, I don't know.
So why was it Florida then? Like who did you stay with?
So it was Florida was on their way to winning the '96 national championship. Wuerffel was on his way to winning the Heisman Trophy. And listen, I went down for homecoming against LSU. Like it was like October something. I'm down in Gainesville. It's sunny. It's warm. The scenery, and like in Canada in October, it's like minus 12. You know, and it was pretty good. Like the Gators, like Wuerffel threw like 6 TDs, and it was like fifth. I don't know. They just smoked LSU at home, and it sold it pretty easily for me.
If the transfer portal was as prevalent then as it is, or as prevalent it is now back then, would you have been like, okay, this splitting reps bullshit? I'm gonna cause it because I think did you have the Mertz Lagway game? Where right. So they were splitting up series, and then we know in the other game against Mississippi State, I don't know if you had that one where they were going to give him like 3, 6, and 9 or something. And every time I think about it, I think of you because I never played the position. I would despise that. So I think you, 2024 Jesse Palmer, would be like, hey, let's start planting the seed that I want out of here.
I did it twice. Like I was doing it with Doug Johnson and then Rex Grossman like 2 years later. It was crazy. Like I was all about that. You know what's crazy though, man? Because you know, my buddies, my boys on the team back then, we talk about it still today. Like in the late 90s, that was an era where I feel like if you transferred, that was like a
red flag.
Red flag. Yeah, I was going to pick another word, but yes, that was a red flag. Like that was I know what the other word is too. Yeah. It was like, you could pick a few. It was just like, dude, like back then, like just compete, figure it out, get your job back. Like you're trying to go to the league, like figure it out, get back out there, practice better, play better, and just deal with it. And just, seize the moment. Like if you had transferred back then, everybody in the locker room would have lost respect for you. And so, yeah, I mean, it'd be easy to say now, like, absolutely. I've been one of these guys. Like I was just talking about the guys that transferred 3 or 4 times. I would have done that. I would have gone where the most money was, by the way. I would have been like an NIL. Yeah, I would have been all about the NIL for sure. But I don't think I would have. I just think back then my headspace was like, I got to we had 4 NFL quarterbacks on our roster at the same time. And it was just like, I got to beat these guys. Like that's it. And I just got to get on the field and I got to get drafted and get into the league. And that's kind of how I thought about it. And that we don't see that very much anymore, I don't feel like.
And look, you got to the league, and without your mentorship, Eli Manning may not be Eli Manning.
That's true. Eli Manning would have, he would have missed so many. That's a good point. That's not talked about enough. Basically, forget Plaxico Burress and all these other guys that made him. Yeah. Jeremy Shockey, I made Eli Manning. That's a good point.
To be totally honest, and I don't think you'll mind me sharing this, we were talking about it once. You're like, it was probably the best thing ever that they got me away from him.
Yeah, the best day of my Giants career and my worst day was the day that Eli moved into the same building I was living in Hoboken, New Jersey. That was great news and that was bad news all at the same time.
That'll do it for this edition of Recruiting Stories, the Ryen Russillo podcast. You can listen on Ringer, Spotify.
They were going to name me Michael Jordan. My dad was like, I don't think he can live up to it, so they named me Michael Jared.
Must be 21 and older and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is there. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.